Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success, a change conversation for leaders, project and change practitioners for today and tomorrow. My name is Therese Perez of myvirtualchangemanager.com, and I'm an experienced change and project professional and people leader with many years of experience in the industry. I love business, and I love the people side of business especially. So nothing lights me up more than seeing people use change management, project management, and strong change leadership to engage, motivate, and inspire people, and ultimately transform organisations. If you've heard about change management and have no idea of what it involves, then you're in the right place. If you know about change management, but you want to take your practices to the next level, then this is where you should be. I'm going to share the stories of my experiences, interview some fantastic people, and I'm going to explore all of the challenges and opportunities that you face in organisations right now. So please join me and let's go and have some fun. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese Perez, and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and to both elders past, present, and emerging. Well, we've almost made it to the end of 2023, and it has seemed like a long year. I think mindset-wise, part of me is starting to head into 2024, knowing that time doesn't stop. We just keep moving on. However, today I'd like to pause and reflect on the year and the trends that we've seen in the change space and what we potentially will see continue through to 2024. So we've seen a lot of research by the neuroscience cohorts, by various change organizations, showing that there still continues to be an issue around change effectiveness in organizations. So organizations have not yet matured or at scale around being able to cope with the level of change and the challenges that organizations are facing at an individual level in making sure that their organization is one that is flexible, one that is accommodating for everyone and inclusive. And so it's probably no surprise that any indicators shifting have not shifted, and that the same challenges around being able to manage change effectively still remain. Leadership absolutely seems to be really key in this, as it always is in an organizational ecosystem, where the leaders are effective in their roles, but also the pressure for leaders to develop in various areas of capability, including the ability to lead change. That still continues to be a topic. The burnout statistics and the themes around burnout seem as more prevalent than ever post-pandemic. And we always knew that after the pandemic, there would be a period of time in which no one would really know the longer term effects of all of the lockdowns, the isolation, then the need to come back to work, how that is effectively managed in organizations, and then really evolving to a hybrid way of working. And it still seems that because of the prevalence of senior leadership leading somewhat privileged lives, the gap between leadership in many organizations and the workers or the employees and team members in organizations continues to be wide. And the key stance around ensuring that every individual is supported and that you have policies and flexibility in that seems to be the point of tension for many organizations, with leaders who may want to treat everyone the same versus how do you ensure that you're accommodating individual needs, which is the whole, I guess, focus and basis of inclusion. And so that still remains a topic. And the concept of burnout and how that is showing up for people is still really high, and how people in corporate can avoid that is something that the well-being programs and things that are quite surface-based simply aren't addressing yet enough in detail. And so I feel like for 2024, 2025, there's two things that are really going to be on people's agenda. How do organizations become agile in its truest sense versus just as a word that gets thrown around. How do leaders really understand what agility can offer? And that means managing change on an ongoing basis. How they can build, and oftentimes this is how it's touted, is how they can build resilience in their people. But it's really about the leadership approach of creating that psychologically safe learning organization and learning team who are high performing, because that's an outcome of psychological safety. It's an outcome of having a learning mentality within your team and creating a cohesiveness, making sure you've got the right capability sets, but then the leader's ability to foresee what the strategic changes may be to flex within their team construct to meet that requirement. So what does that mean really? I guess at an individual level, if you're a leader in the organization, in any organization nowadays, then your own ability to be self-aware and to connect strategy to the operational needs, so the strategy of your organization to your team's operational needs, and be able to see and consciously hear the narrative happening around strategic changes that are coming through because of the economic pressures that are taking place in organizations currently and the changing landscape, whether it be political or social. Your ability to say, okay, well, let's get ahead of that curve. And how do I work with my team to get them ready for that change that's going to inevitably come through? And that's really, really key. And how to support your team through that emotional process as the change comes through as well, and to keep them engaged. And also respect that if they choose not to go on the journey with your team, how to ensure that everyone's cared for through the process from a respect perspective around finding something else that may be better suited. Because that's just a choice that the individual worker might make. At times, the employees and the organization makes that choice, but it's always about treating people respectfully through that process. So these are the key things, even heading into next year. What are the indicators that I see in my team or in my colleagues around burnout? How can I support? How can I make sure that people are taken care of in this environment? But also then how do we really focus on what we can do versus all of those different things that you just simply can't control, which are, the economic environment, the broader political environment. But how can you support your people to focus on those things that they can control so that they can continue to move forward and deliver and add value and learn, which definitely is some of the things that at an individual level drives people, keeps them engaged, is always giving them that frame of reference. So those themes definitely are going to be continuing through 2024. There are a couple of things at my virtual change manager that we're going to focus on next year, which is providing a lot more tools and tips around how to build resilience, how to become change agile, how to increase change maturity in organizations or in teams or even just as an individual, so that you have the skill sets that you can move forward with and be successful when it comes to your career or your team, forming your team, and also for organizations about moving that maturity dial, because it is really important. It is going to become fundamental in every single organization where change isn't really talked about as a concept. It is simply about the evolution of the organization year on year and what that journey looks like, and that we continue to flex based on the changing conditions, and that we are always going to focus on what we can control, and we're going to let those things that we can't control just be aware and connect to, but not be dominated by those constructs which are just a part of doing business nowadays. Definitely in the information tech world that we've got, the social media, the all of the different things that we're exposed to, is ensuring that we're having to up our game around communicating change, embracing change, engaging change, and pacing change. And I think the pace of change is something that we will absolutely be talking about more next year. And we're also going to be getting some special guest speakers in throughout next year to talk about different aspects of change, different paradigms, different models, frameworks to help you navigate as well, because some things may resonate with you, some things that I say may resonate with you, some things I say may not. And the commitment I have to you as a listener of this program is to start to broaden the landscape of change for you. And that includes bringing in new perspectives, thought processes, think tanks around certain problems that have been unsolvable. Just to get your mind working about, well, what are the things that I can look at with my team, or what are the things that I can consider with my team that might help you in your day-to-day role. But most of all, when reflecting on the year that was, I would like to say thank you. If you've been listening to this podcast this year, I can't thank you enough around coming, listening. I'd love to hear from you. So certainly feel free to email me. Go to myvirtualchangemanager.com. Or look, if you didn't like the podcast, I'm happy for you to put reviews of all types on this podcast, because it does help other people find it. So if you're able to give a star rating, that'd be fantastic. If you feel that someone should be listening, feel free to forward a link through to them or message them the name of the podcast so they can jump on board. But I just want to take a moment to say thank you. I'm extremely grateful. I was blown away. For some who may not realize, when doing podcasts, you don't know if people are listening. Maybe I like the sound of my own voice, so that's why I record them. But I certainly am passionate about change. I'm really, really passionate about people and how they can have an amazing amount of potential. Most people in organizations don't realize the potential they have. They need leaders who can believe in them. They need leaders who can create an environment in which they can actually thrive. And I can't say it enough around how many times I've worked with people where I might have joined a team where people are feeling undervalued, they're feeling disengaged, but having some great conversations, getting to know them, getting to work with them, and then also pointing us all in the same direction around a common vision is a thing that really does result in better outcomes. And I haven't always been that way as a leader. I haven't always approached life in that way. And as you become more and more self-aware, you really start to understand that we're humans showing up in a business construct, and that by contributing and connecting with each other, you'll always get better outcomes. And the work will always get done if you've got the right people around the table. But how you do it and how you approach it and how connected you are with each other and supportive you are of each other while you do it, that really does matter. And I've been in organizations and teams where that hasn't been the case and it hasn't been enjoyable. And I've been in teams where that has been the case and it's so much fun. And people are lifelong friends in both instances. I've made lifelong friendships as a result of connecting with people. And I always think that that is what life is about. So I hope heading into Christmas you have a wonderful festive break. I know not everyone celebrates Christmas, so I'd love you to have a fantastic break with your family and friends, and especially a safe break. And I do know that there's a lot going on in the world at the moment, and not all of it's pleasant, not all of it's cookies and cream, and that some people over the festive break are quite lonely, and it can be a tough time of year. So just make sure you do check in on everyone, that you open your doors up this Christmas, be inclusive, because at the end of the day, that's what life's about. And I will be kicking off again in January 2024.